Let's come down to a very individual level. Let's talk to Anita and Zoe. Zoe, perhaps, you first, in your personal and work environment, what have you witnessed as being most effective in addressing this kind of violence against women?
So, as somebody who works in tech and somebody who runs Crash Override Network, it's, I think, the only direct victims assistance and crisis center for people who are currently under online abuse, as well as a victims advocate group. We've handled, I think, over 1,000 cases since we launched in January, and we're staffed entirely by people who have been through this. We deal a lot with triage, so people come to us when things have already gotten to the worst. And I can tell you right now that one of the most effective things we see is an active and humane response on tech partners' side. That is one of the most effective things, and it's also often sorely lacking. This requires proper moderation, which takes into account things like intersectional feminism. So terms of service taking into effect things like the fact that trans women often face a very specific type of violence called dead naming, where people post pre-transition names in an effort to intimidate, harass, and endanger their lives. Things like they need to be trained in things like the way domestic violence can manifest online, because the viral nature of the internet can take all of the goodness about things like marketing, things like grassroots activism, and apply it to domestic abuse just as easily as you saw in my case. Or maybe you didn't, but yeah. Well-trained responders, and that's not just in tech companies, but as well as law enforcement. That don't end up re-victimizing the person dealing with this, as is so common in domestic abuse and other sorts of abuse, which is also, again, not often found. And supportive social networks that don't downplay what's happening, that don't tell them to just get offline and hide, which we've seen in cases like Kathy Sierra's, doesn't actually even work. This is both friends, this is family, especially people who are supervising children, trying to take away their internet access can take away their only support networks and is actually quite damaging. Employers, because a crucial part of online abuse is often the target will be inundated with requests to be fired from their employer. Mental health professionals, because oftentimes these sort of things will not be taken seriously. One of my own agents, I had to call his healthcare provider because they thought he was schizophrenic, that people like me didn't exist, and that a bunch of anonymous people doing this to somebody wasn't possible. In terms of prevention, education about even just digital self-defense, since we are so far behind on this issue, can keep people safe, whether that's training people on what doxing is, which is when people find your home address and post it online, encouraging further action against you or to intimidate and harass you. Things like swatting, where people call in false police reports to your local department, hoping that there will be people erroneously dispatched to your location to harass you further. Just basic things like digital security. A lot of people probably, maybe even in this room, probably still use the same password for everything, and in 2015 we have no excuse to keep doing that. We also need to see, again, these effective terms of service that take all of the different ways that different people from different layers of marginalization or geographical location experience online harassment. We need people that are actually belonging to these demographics working in these departments, so it's not just an echo chamber of a bunch of people that are already in tech deciding what happens to the rest of us. Proper legislation that talks to people like me and people that live and work online, that doesn't destroy vital things like anonymity, which may seem like a big, bad, scary thing, since a lot of people do use it for harmful purposes, but it's also the thing that protects activists like me. It's the thing that protects people that have mental illness from the stigma that speaking out about it comes with, so that they can find community. It's a thing that helps people that are discovering their own gender identities and their own sexualities talk with other people without fear of reprisal, and often violent reprisal. So making sure that people who live and work online and understand these nuances are involved with every step of this is crucial. Otherwise, we'll see more embarrassing statements about series of tubes in governmental bodies. We need people to actually enforce their own terms of service and shut down bad actors, bad faith websites. There are numerous places that host non-consensual pornography and make a profit off of this. There are individuals on services like YouTube that have made a living off of abusing people like Anita and I, who monetize this, who see the mobs, who aren't anonymous, who raise their funds this way to continue attacking, stalking, and harassing us, because it's a cottage industry at this point. And all of these things need to be taken into account and might be difficult to understand from the outside. So if there's one takeaway from all that I can push for, is please involve people who are in tech doing this work already in every step of the way. It requires all of our, like, so many different prongs. The three-pronged approach is absolutely correct. And it just involving tech literacy at every level is super important to make sure we don't move in a wrong direction and with the best intentions at heart.
With your work through Feminist Frequency, how do you interpret a multi-level approach to working on these issues?
Yeah, so Feminist Frequency is a nonprofit that I run where we look at the way women are represented in the media. And by doing this work, I have been the target for 3 years nonstop of egregious online harassment in all levels. I think it's important to recognize that harassment is, as someone had mentioned, it's not just what is legal and illegal, right? Harassment is threats of violence, but it's also the day-to-day grind of you're a liar, you suck, you know, making all of these hate videos to attack us on a regular basis, and the mobs that come from those hate videos, etc. And so, you know, I've spent a lot of time thinking about online harassment and what we can do about it. And I think something that's really important to understand is that, you know, we know this, but I think it's worth saying that sexism and misogyny did not start with the internet, right? It's been around for a long time, and feminists for decades have been challenging these male-dominated systems. So what we're seeing is that the internet is providing new ways to commit the same types of violence, right? And so understanding that this is a cultural, that we really need to see a big cultural shift in how we deal with this, and we can take note from activists that have been doing this work previously or have continued to do this work while acknowledging how technology is changing the face of current day sexism and misogyny. So creating a cultural shift, I think, takes a great number of approaches, and we've been hearing a lot about systemic change, and that makes me really happy because I think that that's really how we have to do this. And so one of those approaches is, I think that the online social media sites and the places in which we are engaging on these large platforms really need to step up and change the way that their systems operate. So it's not enough that they simply put Band-Aids on the problem areas, that they need to completely reimagine what their systems look like in order to build sites that actively deter online harassment, that make it harder to do this. We're not going to go and convince every single person who does horrible things online to stop doing those things, but we can make systems that actively deter that kind of behavior, which would make a huge impact on the lives of me and so many other people who are being harassed online. So what we have right now is women are forced to build a fortress around themselves with the measly tools that we have online. And so we are being punished for people harassing us and, you know, yes, period. And I think that that's a really big problem. And so we need to really think about how we create this larger cultural shift, taking into consideration society at large, taking into consideration tech platforms, taking into consideration laws, so that people, like all people, can engage online and fully participate without fear of intimidation and violence.
Hello everyone, this is the Andrew Dahl, aka the German Mike, and I wanted to start this video with Zoe Quinn and her hypocrisy. Basically at her height, going with Anita Sarkeesian, I just took not the whole thing from the UN, I just wanted to use the most relevant clips, but I just wanted to go into her history of what she's actually done and her previous what should we say, history. And so let's start with the timeline where her horrible past. Let's go to GG Wiki on deepfreeze.it. I know there was also some issues with Wizard Chan where she exploited basically young men who had social issues and exploited them, and so she's not the first time that she's harassed people online. So let's read into the history of Zoe Quinn, her story, so to speak. Programmer Aaron Joney publishes the Zoe post on August 16th, 2014. The long post outlines Aaron's breakup with a game developer called Zoe Quinn. In the post, Aaron outlines that Zoe displayed what others would later note as a general pattern of abuse against him. See, that's another one. She goes on to the UN to basically state that she is for victims of domestic abuse while she's allegedly abusing him. Action in contrast with her public persona as a social activist in the indie game development scene. The post also revealed that throughout their relationship, Quinn had affairs with several prominent individuals in the games industry of particular interest to members of the gaming industry community. The post revealed that Quinn had an affair with games journalist Nathan Grayson, who is noted to write for Kotaku, one of the largest game news websites of in the world. Though it is not mentioned in Joni's post, Nathan Grayson gave Quinn's game Depression Quest special attention in Rock Paper Shotgun's article, wrote on January 8th, 2014. The game was mentioned as a highlight in the group of 50 games and was given top billing in the form of being in the headline image. Grayson also interviewed Quinn on Rock Paper Shotgun video blog uploaded 22nd of March. After moving to Kotaku, Grayson wrote about Quinn yet again on 31st of March 2014, which he mentioned her role in a failed game jam TV show and mentioned her interest in starting her own jam. Aaron's posts his revelation about Zoe Quinn in the somethingawful.com and Penny Arcade forums. The threads are swiftly deleted. That's interesting. Aaron subsequently begins publishing his revelations in a WordPress blog. A fellow somethingawful.com forum poster informs Quinn of the existence of Aaron's post via Twitter. Approximately 6 hours after the first forum post, the first image board threads discussing Aaron's post appear on 4chan. There is little consensus among the anonymous posters. These threads are also deleted. Not to mention, she basically put a muzzle on what Aaron could post online, and so she basically she silenced him for the better of several months, just because of what he posted. Here is an old article from One Angry Gamer from August 25th, 2016. Chat logs reveal Zoe Quinn admitting to sabotaging Polaris Game Jam. Polaris and Maker Studios, the multi-channel network organization, had planned a reality TV-style game jam a while back. It all fell to pieces for a number of reasons, but part of it was in deliberate sabotaging by a few of its participants, including Zoe Quinn from Depression Quest fame. That is really interesting, isn't it? That's something Zoe has not been exposed by from these people who are basically grave dancing on Alec Holowka's misery and tragic incident. Here are some of the quotes. So let's read them. The most humiliating moment in that game jam reality show we walked out on was the guy who made Nidhogg was one of the judges for the embarrassing challenges they made us do. So I got to meet one of my heroes while being forced to finger paint with John Tron's idiot ass in the background, asking the British member of my team to say words that sounded funny with his accent. Also, I contractually could not make fun of Mountain Dew for several months. Dude was totally my plan going in, so I did it because I was the only woman they asked, and because I'm competitive shithead, I wanted to the only girl to win, and they clearly had no idea what they were doing, or what jam games were. So I okay, how can I make this system comedy? Everyone gets comedy. So I brought on Davey Reedon from the Stanley Parable and Tom from Surgeon Simulator for my two people I could choose from for my team, with the arrangement that if it was a shit show, we openly mock it and troll the entire thing. Awesome. It's hard to have gone through something so surreal and emotionally difficult and be forced to stay quiet, about as difficult as smiling dead-eyed at a camera with a soft drink in your hand, label facing outwards, of course, and when everything in you is screaming, "This is wrong, run away." We kept sneaking cans into shots and dead-eyeing the cameras, and I kept switching glasses between such shots, and we were slowly holding Mountain Dew cans and bringing them up closer to our faces constantly till they screamed at us to stop. Wow. Davy Redden jumped in with both feet and constantly chugging till he got sick, like actually sick. I snuck into everyone's trailers and hid cans everywhere, like in the toilets and under their pillows. This was before everyone else arrived, because I got there first. Yeah, but it went too far into total shit territory. Oh yeah, and as it turns out, the time when I put my job on the line to criticize my own employer and defend her and the other participants of the game jam, she and her cronies at the event were fucking around acting like rank amateurs and deliberately sabotaging the sponsor spots that were paying for the whole thing, not to mention insulting my friend. So that's just one of the incidents. So let's also read her not too long ago violating DC's social media guidelines to invade Republicans, again from One Angry Gamer. After recently signing on as creator for upcoming DC Vertical Comics series A Goddess Mode, Zoe Quinn decided to mouth off against Republicans in a series of acerbic tweets. So here are the tweets. Criminally prosecuting border crossings is not just evil, it's also a gigantic waste of taxes, just in case you were wondering if the GOP was evil or stupid. And she continues with this, and has not been fired for some reason from DC. So let's read an article from Bounding into Comics. DC Comics writer Zoe Quinn attempts to excuse Antifa assault on reporter Andy Ngo. Isn't she just lovely for trying to excuse this behavior? Sugar is usually used in construction to stop cement from solidifying, but I'm sure this false demonization that's coming from the Portland Police Department had nothing to do with the report on them collaborating with far-right groups. That just came out right. And she continues... when we're up against a force that wants to visit violence on so many as an end goal and won't back down, there will be times. She has also admitted to being an Antifa member on several occasions, basically calling herself a medic. And scenarios where those opposed to violence will only be to choose between fighting back or being hurt. Instead of the mainstream left's push to apologize to fascism for hurting its feelings and condemn all Antifa violence. It gets better than this, and she went to or failed to disclose the relationship, her and a Verge reporter. The Verge reporter fails to disclose personal relationship with Zoe Quinn in Goddess Mode interview. Here we go, tearing up a little at this, not gonna lie. Laura is an amazing writer, advocate, singer, all-around person, but you probably know all that. This is a lovely thing to hear in response to my final piece at The Verge by someone I respect immensely. Also, it probably says something about me, and my most immediate point of pride was that yes, I am a good singer. I mean, I could not include that part. I'm pretty sure I've seen you make someone faint at karaoke once. So they're talking in a very cordial tone on Twitter, and it seems to be no issues there, because you don't have to disclose relationship, just like Nathan Grayson did not have to disclose his relationship to Zoe Quinn, and that's totally fine for him not to do so, because ethics in journalism is totally fine to avoid when you know someone like Zoe Quinn. If we also go looking back at the timeline, Zoe Quinn issues a DMCA takedown notice again on Monday Matt's video, alleging copyright infringement due to the use of static screenshots. The video is taken down by Google. Amazing. The Fine Young Capitalist alleged doxing and harassment, which their project received from Zoe Quinn in a Reddit thread discussing Quinn's earlier harassment allegations against Wizard-chan. So she has no problems at doxing people, even though she went on at the UN and said that this was harmful to people. Zoe Quinn then, August 19th, 2014, entered the Streisand Effect. UK-based gaming website GameSnatch is one of the first sites to publish an article on reporting on the scandal. Their web host subsequently blocks the article and asked them to remove it completely. Gamers resort to viewing the article on the Wayback Machine. Zoe Quinn then asked for the contact information, also asked them to remove it from the archives, resulting in the removal of the page from the archive. The article was later restored. Again, isn't this amazing? Here we go. Zoe Quinn's Tumblr, Twitter accounts are allegedly hacked and her information doxed by 4chan. Members of the 4chan board are immediately skeptical, not least due to uncharacteristic use of a capitalized V to describe the V board. Investigation shows the posted information to be unrelated to Quinn. The incident is viewed with skepticism by posters on V and elsewhere. 4chan threads archives of the incident. Again, I'm gonna link all the links in the description below. The editor of Kotaku, Stephen Totelo, issues a statement saying that neither he nor the leadership team has found compelling evidence that Nathan Grayson was trading sex for positive coverage in the case of Zoe Quinn, while also confirming that a romantic relationship had occurred. Isn't that amazing? Totelo states that he believes no breaches of ethics occurred in regards to an accusation that Grayson was trading sex for favorable reviews, and no further action need to be taken. Totelo had earlier made a series of tweets on this event. YouTube comedian critic John Jafari, better known as JonTron, tweets about the earlier encounter with Zoe Quinn during the failed Polaris game jam in March. So she didn't just rub any more people wrong. A lot of people she rubbed wrong. She tried to shut down the Fine Young Capitalists, where it was for girls, trying to make a game jam for them. 23rd of August 2014, Polygon editor Ben Kuchera is revealed to have been donating to Zoe Quinn's Patreon fund since 2014. Kuchera wrote a positive article in Polygon in May about Quinn based on her alleged harassment by Wizard-chan in December 2013, which led to her game being green-lighted on Steam. August 24th, Aaron Joni, author of the original Zoe post, writes a long blog post about the events of the previous week. Joni also interviewed in the Burgers and Fries IRC channel. August 25th, a short video is made covering the harassment on the DOSing that the Fine Young Capitalists. Now, to be completely transparent, we don't know if it was her that did DDoS the Fine Young Capitalist sites. So, just to be completely honest here, but we don't really know what who or what really occurred that day. Let's see. On September 1st. The UK newspaper The Guardian publishes an article attacking the games industry for having a culture of hate and suspicion. The article focuses on Zoe Quinn and on Anita Sarkeesian involved in dismisses gamers' concerns about corruption in games and journalism. She acted like a victim for months and months. She lied about having to flee her apartment and went to Europe on a backpacking tour just because she could. Zoe Quinn on September 6th publishes a series of tweets containing excerpts from 4chan threads and the Burgers and Fries IRC channel, alleging that Gamergate was a planned raid. See, she has no issues smearing people without any evidence. And Kane at Kane JW publishes an extensive analysis of the early timeline of Gamergate, rebutting Zoe Quinn's claims there was harassment conspiracy by 4chan. So she lied yet again. Gamasutra's writer Greg Kostikian responds to Gamergate by stating that the good men defend women, saying to defend the honor of Anita Sarkeesian, Zoe Quinn, Leah Alexander Orias, and Anna Anthropy. I will be willing to meet any of you on horse or foot, with sword or pistol, at a time and a place of your choosing. So these are the people that she hangs out with, basically threatening gamers for criticizing her. Let's see, 8th of September 2014, two gamers editing them, merging Wikipedia Gamergate article doxed by a social justice blogger in an extensive blog post. Zoe Quinn makes a tweet about the blog post. And it continues on September 9th. APG Nation publishes an interview with Matthew Rappard at the Fine Young Capitalists on the difficulties that the Fine Young Capitalists game jam faced due to opposition from Zoe Quinn throughout 2014, as well as the recent interactions and difficulties over the course of the current scandal. So, are we still gonna go on and claim she is a tolerant person? Let's jump to September 19th, 2014. Emilio Yiannopoulos releases transcripts from Game Journal's Pros, in which James Fudge, the managing editor of Game Politics and Ben Couture, opinion editor at Polygon.com, pressured Greg Tito, the editor-in-chief of Escapist magazine, to delete a forum thread about Zoe Quinn and corruption in the gaming industry. Let's jump to 21st of September. Editor Titanium Dragon is banned from Wikipedia, inserting unsourced or poorly sourced defamatory content into an article about Zoe Quinn. She is one of the most protected people in the games industry today. And you wonder why, how people are defending her time after time, even when she's literally responsible for a person killing himself, because she made a statement because she wanted attention and more money. That's what it looks like to me. Titanium Dragon had included a Cinema Blend article describing the doxing of the Fine Young capitalists, and a Forbes article about the accusations made by Zoe Quinn against WizardChan. So let's jump ahead. Eric Kane, Frederick Brennan, aka Hot Wheels, and Brianna Wu attend a Huffington live post segment. Zoe Quinn was originally scheduled to appear, but she cancelled her appearance on the show after finding out that she would be speaking alongside the founder of 8chan. Imagine my shock. Imagine my shock. An associate of Zoe Quinn, this is October 24th, 2014, files a false police report with the LAPD against Mike Cernovich. So, again, shouldn't she be in jail for this? This has gone on for years. Nobody has done anything about this. She's been protected by the media, and no one has done anything about it. No one in the mainstream media has had the balls to call her out. I've called her out plenty of times, and many others as well on YouTube that have smaller channels but are deemed basically all the weasel words you can think of. So Cernovich leaves his house to avoid potentially getting swatted, and the tweets that he will pursue legal action against. Sorry, I can't pronounce that. This is October 29th, 2014, and the original doxing of the Fine Young Capitalist is linked to a writer named Jonathan Ross. Ross was found to have used the alias of Arrow X47 on Destructoid and Twitter. Zoe Quinn plus Maya Kramer had retweeted the original dox. See? They retweeted doxes of people, and she has the balls to go on UN and to bitch about doxing of others and herself. the irony. But we're not otherwise connected. When questioned, the owner of Destructoid, Nero Gonzalez, stated that Ross was never an employee, just a smart guy from our community who pointed out typos. He was active a long time ago, maybe 5 years ago. However, Eroc's profile on Destructoid indicated he was active as recently as November 2013. David Pacman interviews Matthew Rappard from the Fine Young Capitalist to discuss their involvement in Gamergate and details surrounding doxing Zoe Quinn. Something I would recommend you to do. December 2nd, 2014, Brad Wardell writes an entry in his blog showing disapproval of Zoe Quinn. Call to blacklist an illustrator who drew a comics she found offensive. So she wanted to get people fired because she found something offensive. Are you still doubting that she is vile? Due to the opposition of Gamergate started a boycotting campaign against Brad's company, Stardock. Crime and Federalism.com releases an article in which it shows with evidence how Margaret Pless and Zoe Quinn, doxed lawyer Mike Cernovich, filed a false police report against him and put his life in danger by trying to get him spotted before showing support to the ideas of Gamergate. How much proof do you need? January 20th, 2015, Wired publishes an article on the Crash Override network claiming that Gamergate made Zoe Quinn a target for angry video game fans, opposed to the diversification of gaming culture, and that Quinn still experienced daily harassment. She can't, of course, show any receipts of this, because I was one of the people she supposedly, because I was on the block list, and I'm still on there, labeled as a serial harasser. The BBC runs an article on the Crash Override network calling Zoe Quinn a Gamergate abuse victim, January 21st, 2015. The Telegraph runs an article on Zoe Quinn claiming that Gamergate was used by fans of video games to pile horrific abuse on feminist game critics. So she just calls anyone an harasser of critique of her horrible and vile behavior. This is January 30th, 2015. Matthew Hopkins News reviews Depression Quest, giving the game only 27 and provoking Zoe Quinn into changing her Twitter screen name to Found Witch. Matthew Hopkins is the pen name of Sam Smith, an activist and law student who has been praised in the UK Parliament for representing vulnerable women. Smith, via his Twitter account, indicates he is pursuing stories about Anita Sarkeesian and Sam F. Bill of Gawker. And so that's pretty much the timeline of Zoe Quinn just up till the middle of 2015. Early 2015. And I also have these other articles that prove that she has done unethical behavior, tried to sabotage, tried to censor, tried to dox, tried to harass other developers, women, men, and only now we have people discovering this, unfortunately. But when you have such a vile person that people have warned basically the internet about, and the mainstream media keeps on defending her, keeps on making shill pieces and protecting her, you have the entire games media basically protecting her. I tried to go on GameSpot and call this out, and I was banned for basically being a Gamergate supporter. I'm even banned on or blocked on Twitter by GameSpot, the site itself, for trying to expose this. Did I do mistakes? Sure, everyone does mistakes. But how does this show her history of being a vile human being, where you have Alec Holowka being accused without any evidence, with just her word on Twitter, going to the public court of opinion, didn't go to the police, and knew this guy had mental issues, to defame him on Twitter, and basically being the reason why Alec unfortunately killed himself. So there's probably more I could cover, but I just wanted to keep this somewhat short. Well, this is getting very, very long. Anyways, tell me what you think. I tried to spend a little time finding sources, and I'm gonna put some of the or all of the sources in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye.